right, so I'm gonna go ahead and dive in here. What we got on the agenda today is going to talk about values. So, bear with me just a moment, get my presentation pulled up here. Okay, so values, I'm gonna share my screen. Oh, I was on in the meeting. Okay, so we're gonna talk about values. I really like this quote by Park Won-soon. A new era doesn't come from nothing. New thoughts, values, and methods will be established after overcoming various hurdles on the way. And then I have a picture of core values. I like this because it's like our core values are basically at the core of who we are. And this does a good job of like it's the center point of all these words, which the words just represent different principles which we embody. And those principles are determine our beliefs, which lead to our thoughts being affected, which affect our actions. So we have here, and actually I'm going to go ahead and switch over. So I've been building on this each week, what divine masculinity is and how it connects to all these points that I'm talking about. So we have I actually put values on there twice because values is not necessarily a specific topic. It's more or less what we embody within us. It's more or less how we govern our everyday lives. So divine masculinity, I have it going to purpose because the purpose is ultimately what drives us to step up as men, to step up as leaders, as fathers, as husbands. When we have that sense of purpose, it makes everything stronger in our lives. And values are what guides us towards that purpose, guides us towards anything in life. Even if you don't have a purpose per se, like you don't know your purpose rather, then you're still going to be governed by values. You just may not know what those values are. You may not be, it may not be in alignment with the highest version of yourself, but those values are going to determine who you are and who you become and who you show up as. Ultimately, our values are what determines our identity. And as you see here, I have values, which is directly under purpose. So let me just scroll in here. So divine masculinity is directed by our purpose, and the values are connected to the purpose because everything that we do is directed by our values, as I just said. And of course, these branch off to all these individual pathways, which are connected to our purpose and divine masculinity. And all of those are filtered down, leading us to our core of who we are, the core of our being. It's like the center point of our circle. If you think of us as a circle, so many of us live our lives on the outside of the circle, on the circumference. Maybe not even on the outside, but it's not directly in the center because we haven't learned how to embody what it is that we truly wish to embody that will lead us to our highest destiny. So we compromise and we sacrifice the values that would lead us there for comfort. So many people in our society sacrifice what they need in order to step up into that version for comfort or for security or for just not showing up as their highest selves because it's easier. It's easier to stay at the bottom. It's easier to not have to put in the work, to stay consistent, to be disciplined. And honestly, that's something I've really had to push through as well and has struggled with. We all have. But that's what makes it so much more fulfilling, is when we can push through those obstacles, when we can push through and overcome whatever it is that comes our way, we step into a new version of ourselves. And it lights us up in a way that we've never been lit up before. It's like we've been reborn because we're finally living our life in alignment with that purpose, in alignment with those core values. So probably edit this a little bit to make it a little more fancy, a little prettier, um, but yeah, so everything that we do is led to our core. And the core, of course, is governed by our values. That's why I put values down here, but also up here because they're directly tied to our purpose. I'll probably change the color of this. I don't really like how the color scheme is, but again, I'm continuing to build this out as we go through week by week to how all these connect to our divine masculinity and what that means for us as men to be able to initiate in that path, down that pathway. Okay. So, divine masculinity. I like to tie it back in. So each week, also tie in how divine masculinity ties in to the topic that we're discussing. So, a divine masculine man has built his framework aligned to that core value that he holds near and dear to his heart. And as we just discussed, in order to step into that divine masculine version, we have to understand our values. In order to understand our values, we have to understand what our vision is and what we're even moving towards. If we don't have a direction, then we're not going to know where to go. And so we're just going to be led in all these different directions, not really knowing why and how it connects to our life. So we're just doing a bunch of random shit that doesn't really have any precedence because we haven't built the foundation and connected it back to that core version of ourselves. And there's so many men out there that aren't willing to sacrifice the things that they need to do to step up. And I, myself included, have struggled with that. And honestly, that's what pushed me to do this, is I've seen the kind of man that I used to be. And I've never been I've always lived my life with compassion and love and tried to help people, but I feel like I wasn't living to my highest standard. I wasn't living in full integrity with myself. And I knew that I could be better. I knew that I could step up and be an example for what is possible. But the thing is, that requires sacrifice. I knew that it would require more responsibility, more leadership, more discipline. And even now, I'm continuing to refine that, to refine myself so that I can step up each and every day. Every single week that I come onto these calls, I level up a little bit more with each call, with each step that I take, with each post that I make. Everything that we do helps us to level up, to rise up to a new level of ourselves. But if we don't take action, if we don't stay consistent, if we just allow all these things to overwhelm us and we get stuck in the individual steps and what we need to do, then we're not going to be able to climb that mountain and we're just going to stay at the bottom. A divine masculine man is a sacred mirror for others. He shines that light into the darkness of others so that it can reflect back what they need to become in order to become that in their own lives. And this is key because we're all reflections of each other. We're all reflecting back aspects of each other. And there's a book that I've talked about, and actually I want to go deeper on this, maybe even next week, talk about the shadow, but it's the The Dark Side of the Light Chasers by Debbie Ford. It's an incredible book, and it talks about how we reflect back these different aspects of to other people and how they reflect that back to ourselves. And I know it's a simple concept. I'm sure that you are aware of that already. But the way that it dives into it, it's really profound because for her, it was she was giving presentation. She was teaching this method that had been passed down from her dad and from her family. So she continued to, I don't remember exactly. I believe it's been a minute since I've read it. I need to go back and revisit it, but it's to do with creating the life that you want and energy work and manifestation or something along those lines. But basically, she was teaching seminars, and while at one of the seminars, there was a woman that continued to disrespect her, continued to disrespect her. Each each week that she would come back to do these talks, this woman would show up and would always have something, something to say. You know, she would always be trying to undercut Debbie and trying to make her look bad and just saying these awful things. And finally, when she dived deep into what was happening with this situation, she was able to come to the conclusion that she wasn't accepting the fact that herself, Debbie, the author, had these same traits and characteristics within her. And she had to accept the fact that she too was a bitch. That's the word that she used. That's the word that I'm going to say. But she didn't want to see that. She didn't want to accept that, and she didn't want to embody that within herself. So what happened is this person showed up at her seminars and was reflecting back that aspect back to her. And we get so pissed off at other people, and we want to project all these things onto them that they're this and they're that without realizing that we have these capabilities within us. We are both the light and the darkness, and we have the ability to do amazing, incredible things, but we also have the ability to do fucked up, ungodly, things you don't want to even think about. We all have that potential, but what is important is that we recognize that within us. Because if you can't see the darkness within you, then inevitably you will become that darkness. What happens is when you start to shine a light on that darkness, it starts to reveal aspects of yourself that you weren't even aware of. It starts to reveal to you aspects that has been hidden for maybe your entire life. And if we're not able to see that, it's going to run the show. It's going to bring all of our fears, all of our doubts, all of our insecurities to the surface in some way. Maybe it's not even conscious. And I'm not saying that you're going to become like a killer or something like that, but it's going to bring forth aspects in your daily life that you don't even recognize that's going to keep you from stepping up to the next level, to keep you from being your highest and best self. These shadows, these shadow aspects of ourself is one of the biggest obstacles that we have to face. And as divine masculine men, it's up to us to embody that so that we can hold the ground and hold the frame for other people to step into that in their own lives. If we're not able to do that for ourselves, how can we ever expect anyone else to do that? And lastly, his values are the source of his core light that shines from within. And I'll just go back to the depiction here. I made it yellow, yellow orange because it reminds me of the sun. It's that light that shines from within us, the core of who we are. It's it's almost like an intangible thing that's hard for us to really grasp. But when you think about it, everything that you do is either going to bring you closer to that core version of yourself or it's going to take you further away. And throughout our lives, there's so much programming, so much stimulation, so much just bullshit that we have to deal with, that we get overloaded and we get distracted from the truth of who we are as divine beings, as divine masculine men. And it blocks us from seeing beyond these these beliefs that we've developed, this programming. It's like it's like glasses, but when you put them on, or actually, there's a movie. It's oh, what is the name of that? I'm gonna have to post it later on. It's basically he has these glasses, and he's going through the world, and then he realizes he gets to a point, he finds these glasses, right? And he puts them on. And when he puts them on, he realizes that the world is not what he thought it was. When he puts on the glasses, suddenly he sees a whole new reality, and everything that he thought began to change. They began to see billboards for what they truly were, people for who they truly were. And suddenly he began to be attacked by these beings because he could see beyond the veil. He could see their true form. I believe the movie's like They See, or it's something like that. They see us. I don't think that's it. I don't know. But I'm gonna have to post it later because now that I got to thinking about it, talking about it, it really aligns with this because if we're able to put on the glasses and see the truth, it's going to reveal to us things that we didn't even realize, things that may have been in front of us all along, but we were blocked from seeing it. So that's it's a really good movie, by the way. And honestly, it has a lot of truth because there's so much happening in the world, so much fucked up shit that it's imperative that we step into this, that we need divine masculine men more than ever to create this new world, to create a world where we can all thrive. We're all living in our highest purpose and destiny. But the powers at be do not want that for us because we are powerful beings. We are so powerful. It's it's almost immeasurable, the amount of potential that we each have. If we only realized that, if we only took the time and spent every day consistently working towards that, the world would not be where it is today. That's why we need to step up. It is time, my brothers, for us to step into that in our own lives, to rise up, to be leaders for the new world that we are creating, breaking away from this false programming that has kept us trapped for so long. The values are essentially what's most important in our lives. So just think about what has been the biggest driver pushing you in your life? What has been the thing pushing you towards your why? Do you even know what your why is? Why you get up in the morning? Why you strive to do more? Why you set goals? Because without that vision, without that why that pushes you, it can make it very difficult to get up when you get knocked down. I like a quote in Rocky 6. It ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. because life is going to knock you down, and life is always going to hit harder because we are finite beings in these physical bodies, but we have the potential within us. We have the spirit, the human spirit that drives these bodies. And that spirit is what will push us. When we have when we have that energy within us and we have the will to never give up, nothing will stop us. Doesn't matter how many times you get hit, because you're going to keep moving forward no matter what. Fail forward. That's what's most important. Fail forward towards your destiny. If you fail, take that as a learning experience. If you start a business and it doesn't go the way that you want it to, take that as a learning experience. If you invest money and you lose it all, take that as a learning experience to grow, to build your foundation. Because you can't have a strong house without a strong foundation. You try to build a house on a crumbling foundation and see what happens. In a year or two, 5 if you're lucky, that house is going to be full of issues and going to be crumbling, literally crumbling from the ground up. Because when the foundation crumbles, everything else is going to crumble with it. It's imperative for us to build that foundation first, if we wish to create this dream life for ourselves. That's what our values are. They're like the walls, the structures, the pillars that hold up everything, everything that we believe, everything that we think, everything that we do needs to be guided by our core values. The values are driving us towards our highest destiny. But even if we don't, or rather, even if we aren't aligned to our highest destiny, we still have values. But it doesn't mean that we are living in our highest purpose and our highest sense of value. Because if you value comfort over everything else, then you're not going to push yourself out of your comfort zone. You're not going to strive to be more, to create your own business, to leave a legacy. Because I can promise you, that's not going to be a comfortable process. When you're doing something new, something that's never been done before, you're paving your own path, it's going to be very uncomfortable at times. But that discomfort is what will propel you forward, is what will give you the strength and the courage once you overcome those challenges. It will help build your foundation because it's strengthening you, strengthening the core of who you are, it's strengthening what your true values are. These challenges show you who you truly are. It brings you to the forefront of yourself. And you have to see, and you have to come face to face with what you truly value in your life at that moment. Especially when you're in the face of death, when you're in the face of intense adversity. That's when your true character is going to come out. So you want to make sure that you're prepared and that you have built that foundation. You've done the work. For whatever comes at you, nothing will shake that foundation. It may shake the foundation, rather, but it will never crumble it. But if you build it on a weak foundation, you might have a strong wind that comes through and blows you over. Not even anything major. Could be something very minor. but it completely crumbles you, completely breaks you. The more challenges that we overcome, the stronger we become. I like that. It's like one of those picture memes. It shows it's a picture of two wolves, and it shows the first wolf where he has like one arrow in his back, and he's laying on the ground dying. And then it shows another wolf, the same wolf, but further along in his evolution. And he has 10, 20 arrows in his back. And basically, it's showing that as we go through this life, the challenges aren't going to get easier, but you grow stronger. And through that strength, you're able to elevate yourself to new levels, to new heights. You're able to take yourself further than you ever have before because you know what it is that you truly value. You know who you are, and you're not willing to sacrifice anything for that. So it continues to strengthen you. With each arrow, it just makes you more determined. With each challenge, you rise higher and higher and higher. Just like a video game, you beat one level, the next level gets harder, but you have more skills, you have more resources, you have more allies to help you along that journey so that you're able to build that up and you can't be defeated. The only way to truly live your purpose is to live in alignment with the values that resonate with your core. I just wanted to give a list here. So these are, I found this online. It's zoomed in too much. So the feminine and masculine qualities. So we have the extremes of each, and then these are some of the main qualities associated with with each of them. You want to make sure that you don't go too extreme, that you are open-minded. You're open to growth, you're open to change, but you also know who you are and the things that you're not willing to compromise. Because as you go through this journey, you're going to be tested. And it's up to you how you respond to that situation. And the more that we strengthen ourselves at the core, the less reactive and the less you'll be thrown off when these challenges come your way. Here's another list here. So this was specifically relating to the feminine and masculine. But this one is a more all-encompassing list because I've been talking about values, but values is honestly something hard to grasp. It's hard to understand. I don't want to say it's hard to, but it's a little difficult just because it's an intangible thing. It's one of those words that you might hear a lot, but you don't really understand it. So many people don't know what their values even are. So to start off, here's a list of several different values. I know some of my top values are growth. I've always been looking to, no matter what it is that I do, I'm always pushing myself to grow. And this was true in high school, but it didn't really become prevalent to me until college because I didn't really start reading and start getting into self-development until college. But even when I was in high school, I was always taking on new opportunities, new jobs, playing different sports, all for the purpose of growth and expansion and just learning new perspectives. That's what it's all about. And then we have love is another one of my top values. Leadership. For me, my top value has always been purpose because this is something that's driven me ever since I was a kid. I remember being 5 years old And I could see this vision played out in my mind, but I didn't understand what it meant. I didn't understand what I needed to do to get there. I could just see this vision. And ever since then, I've known that I have a purpose for for being here. We all have a purpose. But I knew that that purpose is what has driven me. I can't leave this earth until I fulfill that purpose, until I create and leave a legacy for others, to leave a legacy that will empower not just men, but women and children, to show what is possible for other people. My first stepping into that myself. And I went to college because I initially wanted to be an engineer. I thought that that purpose was that I needed to create something. I needed to build some massive, life-changing technology. And maybe it still is. I don't know. It might be in alignment at some point. But as I went through college, and especially towards the end of my senior year, I began to realize that this isn't what I truly want, that this isn't in true alignment with my core value, that sense of purpose, that sense of freedom that I wanted to have. I didn't want to be tied down by a company, by some engineering company that I wouldn't be able to leave, and I would have to spend 20, 30 years for the rest of my life, 40, 50 years. I don't know how long I would plan on being there to be tied down to that. I wanted to have the freedom to travel, the freedom to explore new opportunities, to engage with other people out in the world instead of being stuck in a box or stuck in a warehouse or stuck in, just stuck in an office working on the same thing. Maybe not even the same thing. I knew that at that point in my life, it wasn't what I truly wanted. And I have a picture to represent. So this is actually derived from my coach's full-time purpose. That's where I initially got the idea, and it's not the whole model that they have, but I really liked this idea of, so we have our intentions at the bottom, basically the intentions behind what you do. So if I anything that we do, any action that we take, there's going to be an intention behind it. So if you give somebody something, maybe your intention is because deep down you want them to give you something back. So it's transactional. Or maybe your intention is to just give because you want to give to them, because you want to help out somebody that is in need. Once we understand our intentions, we can work towards our goals. Actually, let me rewind a little bit here. So it's good to actually start with the vision and work backwards. It's like reverse engineering. So like I talked about, I could see the vision in my mind, that purpose, that sense of purpose, but I didn't know how to get there. So I know the end goal, and now I need to work backwards to actually create that in my life. So the intentions are embedded in everything that you do, every action that you take, especially. So like I just started this new job. My intention is to meet people. My intention is to grow and to learn a new skill. My intention is to save more money so that I can invest and so that I can move on to bigger and better opportunities and continue to invest in myself and invest in school, this school platform, to continue to grow that out. My intention for joining a coaching program is to make myself better, is to show up for other people better, a better version of myself, to be a better coach, to be a better father, to be a better husband and lover, the intentions translate, or rather, the intentions dictate our goals. Sorry, let me rephrase that. So our goals are basically the milestones to help us get to that vision. The intentions need to align with the goals and the values. Ultimately, the values are the pillars that hold this entire thing up. The intentions are directly associated with the values because everything that you do has an intention behind it. The intentions are governed by the true values that you have at the core of who you are. So once you have the intentions aligned with your values, you want to understand the goals that you need to take and set goals so that you can get to the next level. Each goal that you you accomplish is going to move you closer towards that vision. So as you work up this ladder, focusing on what your intention is and gearing that towards that vision that you have, then you're going to set goals that align with that, that not only align with your values, but also the intentions that you have, and of course, the ultimate end vision for your life. Hopefully that makes sense. I feel like I butchered that a little bit, but these are all interconnected and it's yeah, they're all necessary in order for us to step into a new level of ourselves. If we don't have the right intentions, then we're not going to create the vision that we truly desire. If we don't set the right goals, then we're not going to be able to achieve that. And if we don't move our lives and operate from our core values, then we're going to ultimately get off course. And we're going to move in another direction that's not necessarily in alignment with that vision that we have. As I talk about, of course, the core, I'm going to hop back over here. So our core is everything that we do is going to needs to push us towards that core of ourselves. And each step that we take is going to peel back layers of our core to get us back, sorry, we'll peel back layers of our purpose to get us back to our core purpose. So each action that we take needs to move us in that direction. Excuse me. Our values are the guide stone that will lead us towards our core selves, as I've talked about with the depiction above. Yeah, and just as I've already talked about, our values guide every decision and action that we take. Because the values are basically the principles that govern who you are and the creed for which you live by within yourself. This is kind of helps to break it down a little further. The values determine our beliefs. The beliefs guide our thoughts. Our thoughts drive our actions. And then our actions, of course, sculpt our future. And a few ways to connect to your values. If you're still having trouble, if you still don't know where to start, again, I can post this list in the group for anybody that wants me to post it. But this is I mean, you can do a quick Google search. I mean, there's literally thousands of values that you could choose from. But this is just a pretty all-encompassing list that I found, a lot of values that I really resonated with in my own life. compassion, adventure, authenticity, growth. I don't think purpose is on here, is it? Yeah, it's not on here. But these are just a few things to get you started, give you some ideas. So again, if those do not help, here's a few other things that you can think about. I want you to think about the most meaningful moments in your life and why those are the most meaningful. So maybe it's a vacation with your family. Maybe it's something that you accomplished, a goal that you achieved. Maybe it's building a business or, you know, a connection that you made. It could literally be anything. What's most meaningful to you in your life? What has been the most meaningful moments that you can remember? And then just think backwards as to what the values are around that moment that made it so special. And then on the flip side of that, I want you to think about the moments where you felt least satisfied. Because sometimes it helps to understand what we want by first understanding what we don't want. And if you understand the moments where you felt least satisfied, then you can work backwards and start to figure out why you felt that way. And it really just helps to figure out what it is that is meaningful in your life. The next one is to pay attention to the stories that inspire you. So maybe it's a story from a movie. Maybe it's a story from your family member, from your mother, father, or your lover. Maybe it's a story in your own life that you lived through. Maybe it's a book that you wrote. It could be anything. Just think about what was it in that story that inspired you the most? What were the elements within that story that inspired you? That will really help to break down the values, because if you can understand just different points in that story, then you can figure out the values associated with that, the values around that idea. The next one is to figure out what makes you angry. When you get triggered, it's a telltale sign of something that you don't like, something that is basically it's like a think of a good analogy here. We get angry. All right, okay, here's a better way to describe it. So we get angry because our values are often being impeded on. So when you get angry, when you get reactive, it's because there's something that's being triggered inside of you that's causing you to be reactive, that's causing you to get angry. So if somebody comes at your family member, for instance, for a lot of people, if especially if you have kids and someone tries to hurt your kid, that's going to send you into in rage mode, and you're going to do whatever it takes to protect your kid because your family is likely one of your top values. You're going to protect your child at all costs. And so, in that sense, what makes you angry, you can see that you get angry because you have this sense of protectiveness, because you value family and you want to do whatever it takes to protect them. The next one is to imagine your ideal environment. If you could create your environment exactly how you want it, what would that look like? And then just imagine the energy around that, the feelings around that. What do you feel in that moment? What makes it your ideal environment? And lastly, to review the accomplishments that you're most proud of. The things that you hold near and dear to your heart, you hold them there for a reason. The things that you're most proud of are directly associated with the values that you have. So if you created a business and you made $100,000 a year, then maybe, there's multiple reasons and values behind that of why you would feel most proud in that moment. Maybe it's the freedom that you have associated with it. Maybe it's the wealth that you gain. Maybe it's just the sense of achievement in itself. Maybe you just like to achieve on a high level, and that gives you that sense of adrenaline, that sense of passion that lights you up. It could be anything. Maybe you want a sports competition. It could even be with somebody else. Maybe you're most proud of what you were able to do as a coach, the results that you were able to give other people, and to see other people blossom as a result of you stepping up and helping them see something that they might not have been able to see, to become something that they weren't before, or rather, they weren't embodying their highest version, but you helped them to break through certain walls, certain barriers. And from that sense of accomplishment lights you up in a way that really touches your heart. Just think about why that causes you to feel so accomplished. It could even be your child, could even be your lover. Maybe you help them achieve something. Really, it's all dependent on you, my friend. We all have different values. We all have different things that guide us. But what's most important is getting to the core of yourself and understanding why, getting to the why of why things happen, of why things are the way that they are. So that is the end of the presentation. Again, if you have any questions at all, feel free to reach out to me, post in the group, direct message me, whatever works best for you. And eventually I'm going to create an image of this. Well, I'm going to superimpose it. Once I build it out, I'm still building each week. It builds upon itself, of course. So I'm going to create basically a pathway for us to follow in order to achieve our divine masculinity within ourselves. But just continue to step up, to step into that fire of transformation so that you can forge yourself into the highest version of yourself and leave a legacy that will forever impact the world we live in. So grateful for you. Peace, love, namaste.